Hello and welcome to the A-List. I'm Andrew Pilewski. Joining me today is Mary Ellen Park. She works as a stitcher and dresser for Broadway in Chicago and works on the NBC hit series, Chicago Fire, as an art finisher. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to start out with, where did you get your interest to be an art finisher and costume design and all of that?
Oh, I studied theater in college.
Okay.
So when I first started my undergrad work, I was in theater. I was always in the costume shop.
Yeah.
I was always working in the art department or the costume shop. And that's pretty much how it started, those interests. I went after my interests. I went after what I was enthused about in school. So
And
that's how I started.
where did you go to college?
I went to school at University of Nebraska in Lincoln.
Yeah.
That was my undergraduate work. And then I did graduate work at DePaul University.
Did they have a large theater program when you got there?
At DePaul University?
Or, yeah, at either one.
They have very large departments.
Okay. Yeah.
And especially at DePaul. DePaul is a very focused department, and they have a lot of credentials, a lot of graduates that are high profile.
Yeah.
And they have a brand new theater building, so they are really doing well.
Yeah.
So it was a really strong program for me.
So what type of opportunities did you get at DePaul that you wouldn't get at other schools?
At DePaul, I had a really strong focus. They have really strong leadership and a strong training program.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of one-on-one focus, a lot of interesting design opportunities. And being in Chicago, there are a lot of opportunities for guest artists that would come in, and just a lot of experiences there that I don't think I would have had at another university.
Is being in the Chicagoland area what helped you land your first job?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. What was your first job?
My first job out of school, I was a design assistant.
Okay.
First of all, I was a design assistant at Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
And then I was the design assistant on Antony and Cleopatra, which started the new Navy Pier.
Yeah.
Chicago Shakespeare
That's cool.
Theater.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And then I also did an internship on Early Edition, and that was a TV show that was filming at Chicago Studio City. And I worked for them as an intern for 3 weeks, and then they hired me right during school, and then right out of school.
Yeah, that's really.
So that's 3 jobs.
Yeah.
right out of school.
Yeah,
you could not beat that.
Back to back.
Yeah, it was
so how did you get from
lucky.
Working there to where you are today at Chicago Fire? Where was the route you took?
Oh, let's see. Well, right out of school, I studied to be a costume designer for theater.
Okay.
So that's really where my interests were. That's where most of my training was. So I worked for Early Edition, but I also worked independently as a design assistant.
Okay.
And also I did my own costume designs for theater, for small theaters.
As a freelance job.
As a freelance job. So I think right out of school, I think I did 10 shows just back to back.
Wow.
Really working to get my skills refined. And then as time went on, I started to work more with Broadway in Chicago as a dresser through our union. And the union placed me on different jobs as a dresser or as a stitcher.
Yeah.
And then I just kept along that track, along that career track.
So what shows did you work on Broadway in Chicago?
Oh, I worked on a number of shows. My first was Beauty and the Beast, which was really fun.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
The dressers for our union are amazing people, and so they really had a lot of experience, and they could really show me how to do all the things they did. They're just phenomenal dressers. And then I just kept along that same path, and then Pirate Queen was in pre-production. And Pirate Queen was a huge production, produced by the same people that did Les Mis.
Oh, wow.
It was just kind of groundbreaking work, and really fascinating to me. And I got a lot of opportunities working on that show.
Okay.
I was able to be the star dresser for Stephanie J. Block. And I was also able to really see how the design process worked. The late Martin Pacaldinas was the designer for that show. And he has an amazing talent. He was so amazing. And I really learned a lot working with him and working with the rest of the great team on that show.
Yeah.
And I think from that, I was able to move on and have a stronger career path without that experience.
What were the costumes that were used in Pirate Queen?
Oh, Pirate Queen, they had huge dresses. They had 4 or 5 different production teams working on the clothes. Wow. Amazing ensemble scenes, anywhere from people that are working on the sea to people that are part of the Queen's court.
Okay.
And then they had the Queen had amazing full gowns with all the undercarriage. A lot of it was shipped from New York, and they just did amazing work.
And so you also worked with the Jersey Boys, correct?
Right, after that.
That's your biggest one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
After that, I was the assistant on Jersey Boys, and when the supervisor went back to New York, I took over for her. Okay. And so I worked on that show for 2.5, almost 3 years.
Yeah, you talk about the difficulty, all the quick changes necessary in Jersey Boys?
Yeah. That system was intense, very intense. Everyone had a number by design. Okay. Because every change had to happen lightning quick. Yeah. And a lot of times, at half hour, a swing would go on, and the swing could have anywhere from 10 to 15 changes. Wow. So it was really interesting how everything had to be laid out in numerical order, and that system was very intense. Yeah. It was really exciting to work on that.
Every time I see a quick change happen, how does that? What is the mechanics of it? Like, okay, I'm an actor. I go backstage for a quick change. What happened? What do I do?
Well, what happens is if you are going back for a quick change, for instance, in Jersey Boys, they're the stage left changes, and there's the Frankie character, and he'll go backstage and he'll make a series of rapid changes where he'll change from his jeans, then he'll change his shirt, then he'll change into his pants, and it happens rapid fire, and then he changes into his shoes because he goes from being the adolescent or the young man, and then he goes into being the performance. Yeah. So he has to wear his performance shoes, and all of those changes are lightning quick. He has 2 dressers assigned to him for those changes. And in Jersey Boys specifically, there are dressers that are only assigned to the Jersey Boys. And so they are responsible for tracking all those changes.
And the Jersey Boys worked with those two dressers, however many dressers are assigned to them, through the whole process.
The whole process, right.
Even leading up to the show, like those are the same people they worked with, so they were super comfortable to just go fly in, fly out.
Yes, and they'll prep everything in advance, so they make sure everything's stage left, everything's stage right, everything's in the dressing room set and ready to go.
And they don't have to, it's not just a matter of just putting the clothes on, they have to look great. They have to
be adjusted.
Perfect, yeah. So, you need 3 people, 4 people working on, one person. That's really incredible to get it to look that good that quickly. And so, what was the fastest change? What was the fastest change? In actual time? What was the time?
Less than a minute.
Less than a minute?
Yeah, less than a minute.
Wow, and was that a complete
No,
wardrobe change?
it was just a shirt change, but it was just really fast.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more A-List.
Great.
Hello, welcome back to the A-List. I'm Andrew Pilewski here today with Mary Ellen Park, head. What's your title? Excuse me again.
Oh, for Chicago Fire,
yes.
I'm the art finisher on Chicago Fire.
So what does an art finisher do?
An art finisher takes direction from the costume designer, and they will take the actual garments and make them look the way they need to look for the shooting for that day.
Yeah. So. Specifically in Chicago Fire, what does that entail?
Oh, it entails looking at the garments, and usually what happens is when an actor comes in for a specific role, they will have a variety of garments that they will try on for a fitting. Okay. And usually what I do is I prep those garments for the fitting. And then after the fitting, the designer and the key costumer will take photos of the garments on the actor, and once that the producing team sees the garments on printed, they'll make a decision how the character looks, how they actually look. And then once that decision is made, I'll take the actual garments and I'll alter them to look the way they need to look for the shooting day.
So for Chicago Fire, that may include like singeing or for fire scene.
Right.
How do you do that even?
Well, for instance, if we have someone, like recently we had a big hospital explosion. And in the hospital explosion, the runners were all affected by the blast. There were also civilians that were affected by the blast. Vendors, doctors, nurses,
Wow.
every
So there's a lot of costumes right there, yeah.
every facet of the hospital affected by that blown up wing. They were all affected by the blast. Our production team put together storyboards of research material for us to draw on. So for instance, there was a pedestrian, and it was really, really important that he look a certain way. We had an actual still photo of someone from a bomb blast from the research.
Wow.
And you wouldn't think about this, but they, when the bomb hits, the pieces of the bomb can sometimes completely shred the clothes.
Okay.
And it was really important that we have that person captured.
Yeah.
Our show is a real show.
Okay.
It's in real time. It's meant to be believable and real. So capturing that image was very important for the rest of the show. So we actually we fit him in the suit and then actually shredded the garment.
Okay.
And then my job is to make it look like he has gradations of dust.
Wow.
So we used 2 or 3, 4 or 5 different colors of dust to show that he was in the blast. And then we also bloody the clothes.
Okay.
And then we have an FX makeup artist that bloodies the skin.
Okay.
And then the FX makeup artist does all of the facial dusting, all of the blood to the body. And then we also did that with all the runners, all the doctors, all the nurses.
I thought, like, wow, that's a lot. Oh, maybe like 20 more people. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it is.
That's
it's
a lot
big
of
volume.
When you're watching a TV show like that, you don't realize how many moving parts go into such a massive, even a small character like the pedestrian. You know, all those the research on it, and then fitting and everything that went into that. It's crazy. So once you finish your costume or whatever, what happens? Do you put it in? Do you store it somewhere? Or?
Well, we store it until it airs.
Okay.
And then once the production has aired, then we store the costume, and we usually end up sending it back to the studio.
Okay.
But we hold on to most of it. If it's destroyed beyond belief, like we know no one will be able to wear it again, then we usually donate it or get rid of it. But if it's something that's viable that could potentially be worn again, we hang on to it.
Okay. Yeah. So were you on set for the filming of the hospital scene?
I was, because the crowds were large volume crowds, so we had to use our entire team on set.
Wow.
So I think everyone was there because we had all of our standbys were there. Our tailor was there. Okay. Our designer, our key costumer, our supervisor. Our entire team was there for those shooting days.
Okay, so outside of yourself, we talked about the research a bit. What other jobs go into a full production of Chicago Fire?
Well, in the beginning, the writers will, of course, write the script, and then they will have a production team that helps develop that script.
Yeah.
Initially, for us, we'll have a concept meeting where the writers or the producers, the art department team, they'll discuss what they need to have, what needs to happen for the script.
Yeah.
So at that concept meeting, it's really director-driven, based on the written material, based on what everyone sees, their vision for that episode. So they'll have a concept meeting. And then after that concept meeting, we'll know in the script pretty much how things are meant to look, and we pretty much go forward from that. So we start right away. Okay. So our designer will go to those meetings, our supervisor will go to those meetings, and they'll break down the script. They'll break down every single day. Our supervisor will do a character breakdown of the entire script by character. Wow. She writes in descriptions of what each person is wearing. She writes in notes about everything that they wear. And then from that, the designer and the key will take those shopping notes, and they'll collect all the materials. The supervisor will work with the key costumer to coordinate a fitting schedule. Okay. And then we'll start to get casting coming in as we know more. And then we'll work on getting all those fittings accomplished, get all of the work rolling. It's really fast. Okay. By the time you start one episode, you're having a concept meeting that day or the next day. Yeah. So you start right away. Wow. And then there will be a production meeting that will talk about the specifics. And from then on, you communicate with emails or by phone or texts. I send a lot of visual material specifically to the designer and the key and the supervisor too. So if I'm working on something, for instance, we had someone that was a burned father, and he saved his children and his wife. Yeah. And it was specific stages of burning. He had 3 different versions of the garments.
Okay.
And so as I go along, I'll send a text and say, is this far enough?
Yeah.
Or how does this look? Or should I go farther?
Yeah.
And we work in the process as we go along.
Sure, that's a lot. Again, a lot of work going into something that people normally don't notice it, but without it, it wouldn't even look.
Well, it
anything.
wouldn't look believable.
Yeah, wouldn't look believable at all.
No, exactly.
And so, what advice do you have to other people who are going into costume design or something in your field?
I think just choose what you want to do.
Okay.
Choose what interests you day to day. I think that the more committed you are to learning and developing your skills, and a lot of the work is a struggle.
Okay.
Things fail, things don't go as you like, and you have to stay determined. And if you enjoy it, it's effortless. You just move through it.
Yeah.
And the struggle is part of it. You incorporate it into it. So I think just stay committed to your work.
Okay.
Like whatever it is, whatever you're enjoying doing, stay committed to that. And if you can find what that is, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it sometimes takes a while. But I think that's my advice is stay committed to what you're doing. Know it's going to be a struggle and you're going to persevere and you'll enjoy day to day.
All right, well, thank you very much for being here. This is Mary Ellen Park.
Thank you.
That was the A-List. Good night.